Hi, this is the third part of the first topic, that is some ideal gas laws and their applications under BCC, basic codes or basic concepts in chemistry. Now, in the previous video, we have already 2 lectures gone. And I had no plan for this third lecture, but because the second lecture went a little longer because of the physics interest that I was put into, therefore I had to do this third video. And rightly we have decided this is the most fascinating aspect that we are going to have now in this program. What is aqueous tension? We have learned how to measure atmospheric pressure by using a barometer in terms of the height of the mercury column that the atmosphere supports, maybe 80 centimeter, maybe 70 centimeter, but the standard pressure for calculation has been taken as 76 centimeter or 760 millimeter of mercury. So most of the time we express gas pressure in terms of the mercury column height. And we also knew how a gas pressure can be determined by using a manometer. A manometer is a U-tube containing mercury. One end is open and the other end is connected to the enclosed gas producing some pressure. If by chance the gas pressure and the atmospheric pressure are equal, then the two levels, mercury levels on the two sides will be same. In that case, the barometric pressure is equal to the gas pressure. But usually that doesn't happen. That is a coincidence. But if it is more than atmospheric pressure, then it will press the left side and the right side will be going above the left side. And the differential height h plus atmospheric pressure above the right column together will be equal to the gas pressure. On the other hand, if the gas pressure is less, then the atmosphere will press the liquid and the left side will have a higher level than the right side. So this differential height h plus gas pressure is equal to atmospheric pressure. So the gas pressure is equal to atmospheric pressure minus that differential height. So this is the way how we measure. And of course nowadays closed manometers are available where it is not connected to atmosphere. It is closed and a vacuum will be created, right? Like Torselian vacuum, there also a vacuum will be created and you can take any liquid, not necessarily mercury. You can take any liquid and on one side connect with the enclosed gas and the other side is closed, having a filled liquid. And because on the right side there was no gas, no pressure, in the left side there is gas pressure, so definitely the two levels will be different. The right level will be more than the left level. So the differential height, that is, that differential height, that liquid column, the pressure is equal to the gas pressure. You can and nowadays pressure gauges meters are available in a very compact form where you just put it in any gas, enclosed gas. It will indicate what is the pressure, either in bar or in Pascal or in PSI, whatever. Now let's see what is aqueous tension. It's a very confusing term. Tension. It's a very old term, but very popular. That is nothing but the pressure of water vapor. So every liquid, you will know in later stage more, every liquid, if you close it, this is the liquid, and after some time the vacuum or the empty space above it will be saturated with the vapor of the same liquid. You started from vacuum, but it will saturate with the substance of that liquid. So the same liquid will evaporate and saturate this, and this is called the vapor of the corresponding liquid. Supposing this is water, this is water vapor. This is ethanol, this is ethanol vapor. Benzene vapor. So every liquid at every fixed temperature is in association with some of its own vapors in equilibrium, which is saturated, and the pressure of that vapor is called vapor pressure. That is very funnily called aqueous tension, right? And every temperature the vapor pressure is different. For example, water has a vapor pressure of 23.8 millimeter of mercury. All pressure, they are expressed in terms of mercury column height, right? So the aqueous tension or the water vapor pressure of water at 25 degrees Celsius, that is standard temperature, 25 degrees Celsius, that is called room temperature. To room temperature, it is 23.8. But as the temperature increases, this vapor pressure also increases, because more and more vapor escapes from the surface and the saturation vapor pressure becomes more, and therefore the pressure also will become more. So less the temperature, less is the number of molecules escaping the liquid surface, and less is the vapor pressure. So remember that every liquid has its own vapor above it at every temperature, however small, however large it may be, and it is fixed. At a given temperature, the vapor pressure of a liquid is fixed. It varies from liquid to liquid. It varies from temperature to temperature, right? So that is called aqueous tension. For example, in 300 degree, it will be more than 23.8. You have a literature, you have a table where every liquid at different temperatures, what are the vapor pressures or aqueous tensions. Now, whenever we collect a gas over water by the downward displacement of water, most of the gases which are not soluble in water, they are collected by downward displacement of water. So it passes via water, through water. Supposing hydrogen is collected via water or through water. So when it is collected in a tube, it carries some water vapor with it. So it is no longer dry hydrogen. It is a moist hydrogen. So whatever pressure measurement we will make by using a manometer, that is the sum of the vapor pressure of water and the pressure of the dry gas. We are interested to know the pressure of the dry hydrogen gas. For example, we have collected hydrogen. That is our experiment. But this is a villain. Water vapor is coming as a villain with hydrogen gas and increasing the pressure, right? So the pressure that we will measure through a manometer or any device, that will give you the total pressure. So to find the pressure of the dry gas which we have collected, we have to subtract the pressure of the mixture, that is the observed pressure, from the instrument, from the barometer or the pressure gauge. We have to subtract the aqueous tension or the water vapor pressure at that temperature from the total pressure to find the pressure of the dry gas. For example, here pressure of the dry gas is equal to the pressure of the moist gas that is the pressure of dry gas plus water vapor pressure, that is called aqueous tension. Vapor pressure of water or any liquid, vapor pressure of that liquid plus dry gas. So both is P, capital P moist, minus the aqueous tension. If it is water, then it is aqueous tension. That aqueous tension is water vapor pressure. But if the solvent is different, if the liquid is benzene, then it is not called aqueous tension. It is called the vapor pressure of benzene. Since most of the gas collection is done over water, so we are more concerned about water vapor and its pressure, what we call funnily aqueous tension. Now see, in all these experiments, supposing hydrogen is collected over water. Here, hydrogen is collected, no doubt, but you find water molecules are also there in vapor form. That will contribute to the overall pressure. Here, the gas is collected via water, through water. So the gas, supposing hydrogen or oxygen, whatever gas we are preparing, that is contaminated with some water vapor. So that the pressure of the water vapor is called the aqueous tension. Similarly here. So this is not only hydrogen or any other gas we are preparing, but also is mixed with some water vapor, and the pressure of that water vapor is called the aqueous tension. Notice how in all three pictures, even the fourth picture, the gas is collected over water and will therefore contain some amount of water vapor. The water vapor pressure, what is called aqueous tension, must be subtracted from the total pressure to obtain the pressure of the dry gas. That is what we call the Dalton's law. Forget about Dalton's law now. In our course, we will not study Dalton's law. We will study in physical chemistry program. Now, we have already done a lot of discussion on manometer, how to measure the gas pressure. So, needless to repeat. And barometer can be also used after leveling experiment. Really, we never use a manometer to measure the gas pressure. So what we in turn do, we perform a leveling experiment where we equalize the gas pressure with atmospheric pressure and record the volume. We had a different volume at a different pressure, doesn't matter. We change the pressure to atmospheric pressure and take the barometer reading, not manometer, then find the differential height and then add or subtract from the barometric pressure height to get the gas pressure. We don't do that. We perform a leveling experiment. I'll tell you what is that leveling experiment. See, same manometer, this manometer conditions. Now see, here this is same manometer but in a different form. The gas is here, enclosed here, no U-tube, no mercury, water. Now here this is open and here this is exposed to atmosphere, the air pressure, atmospheric pressure is in this level, working at this level, right? But there is a differential height. The gas is unable to compress to equalize the level, but the water level inside the tube is higher. So this is the differential height. That means the pressure inside the tube, that is our gas, that pressure plus H, that is equal to the air pressure. So I have written that. The gas pressure in the enclosed space plus H, differential height, is equal to atmospheric pressure. In this case, the gas pressure is less than the atmospheric pressure. Which condition? The condition in the conventional manometer where the left side has a higher level than the right side. That is similar to this condition. Now in this case you find the level of water in the tube is lower than that in the outer jacket. This is the outer tube and this is the inner tube where the gas is enclosed. Gas cannot leak out because there is water. It's not soluble in water. We are not taking any soluble gases, insoluble gases like hydrogen, for example, right? So if this is compressing, therefore the pressure inside the tube, that is our gas, has a greater pressure than atmosphere. Therefore it is compressing, and this differential height is to be added with atmospheric pressure. Atmospheric pressure is working up to this level, and this differential liquid column is acting up to this level. So if the levels are same, the pressure is same. So the only gas pressure is acting at this level, and air pressure plus the liquid pressure of height h, it is acting in this level, same level. So atmospheric pressure plus h is equal to gas pressure. In this case, gas pressure is greater than the atmospheric pressure, right? So that is the case in the U-tube manometer, where the right column, the mercury level is higher than the left column, right? But now this is the leveling experiment that we perform to measure the gas pressure. Maybe gas had a different pressure, but when we dipped inside, carefully dipped inside a tall jar containing water, and on trial and error basis, we find such a position where the level of water outside is same as the level of water inside. So we deliberately, after a lot of trial and error experiment, we find a suitable position where we find the level of water inside the tube and outside the tube, that is in the tall jar, they are equal. So that means the atmospheric pressure is equal to the gas pressure. So we record the volume. Most important is to record the volume of the gas at this particular condition. That is called leveling. Not this volume, not this volume, because we are not going to measure the differential height and then add to the barometric height or subtract. In this case we add, in this case we subtract from the atmospheric pressure. So we are not going to do that. Simply we run to the barometer. Whatever barometer reading will say, that is the pressure of our gas, the moist gas. Of course, it is contaminated with water vapor, right? So this is called leveling experiment. We do deliberately to equalize the outside pressure with the inside pressure, and we therefore say the barometric pressure, the atmospheric pressure of that at that particular time, maybe 80 centimeter, maybe 72 centimeter or 70 centimeter, that is equal to our gas pressure. You record the volume at that particular condition, right? So let us solve a problem on manometer. In a manometer which is open in one end, the mercury level in the right column was 18 centimeter above that in the left column. Let us draw. We know that the left column is closed and it is connected to the gas, enclosed gas. This is the gas. And the right column is open. It's a open kind of, it is given open at one end. Open. So it was found that the right column is above the left column. So this differential height is 18 centimeter, right? So the right column was 18 centimeter above the left column, which is connected, this left column is connected to the gas vessel. The barometric pressure on that particular time was 80 centimeter. So calculate the pressure of the gas, enclosed gas, in terms of height of the mercury column. You need not put the equation H rho G and find the pressure in Pascal or dynes per centimeter square. No need, only height of mercury. So now tell me, in this case, whether the gas pressure is greater than atmospheric pressure or less than atmospheric pressure. You tell me. Take some time. Since it is pressing, so that it is going up Therefore, the gas pressure is more than atmospheric pressure, because up to this level, atmospheric pressure is exerting. And this additional height, so gas pressure is equal to atmospheric pressure plus the pressure due to 18 centimeter mercury column, right? So gas pressure is equal to atmospheric pressure. The barometric reading will give you the atmospheric pressure at that time. It was a high pressure condition, maybe a very unusual climatic condition where it is 80 centimeter high pressure condition. So 80 plus 18, that is 98 centimeter. So the pressure inside the gas vessel corresponds to a pressure of 98 centimeter mercury column. You need not have to convert it to Pascal, right? So this is a simple situation where you find the gas pressure is more than the atmospheric pressure. Therefore, the right column is at a higher level than the left column. Had it been the reverse, this would have been lower and this would have been higher, then atmospheric pressure is greater than the gas pressure. So the differential height is to be subtracted from atmospheric pressure to get the gas pressure, right? Then let us take up another one where we have to find out in Pascal, in bar, in atmosphere, right? A gas vessel is connected to a manometer closed at both ends. So this is a different type of manometer where it's closed at both the ends. And obviously the right column will be more than, because this is vacuum, there is nothing, no pressure. In this case, the right column will be definitely at a higher level than the left column, because there is gas which will press. There is nothing here. So this differential height is given is 8 centimeter of a liquid, that not it is mercury. It is a liquid whose density is given. So the liquid present in this closed manometer, this is closed. This liquid has a density of rho of 8 gram for cm cube. And the differential height in the right side, it is definitely greater than the left side. So the height is 8 centimeter H. So find the pressure of the gas in Pascal, in bar, in atmosphere. Not in height of mercury. Height of mercury is not mercury. Height of this, because this is not mercury, it is a different liquid. So you can say 8 centimeter of this liquid. You have to mention the liquid, then somebody has to know its density, then he can find that. So let us find out pressure due to a liquid column. It has a formula we learned from our school days, H rho into G. Height of the liquid column into the density of the liquid into acceleration due to gravity. You don't ask me how this equation has been derived. That is a subject matter of physics. You know, or you do not know, you can consult the physics books. It is very easy. The second lecture got unusually delayed because I indulged in a bit of physics, which I should have avoided, right? So H is 8 centimeter. It is Pascal, so we have to convert it to meter. This many meter. And rho is 8 gram per cm cube. You have to make it kg per meter cube. So it will be undoubtedly 8000 kg per meter cube. You can yourself convert. Gram, you can divide by 1000. And centimeter is 10 to the minus 2 to the power 3. So ultimately it will be in the numerator 10 to the power 3. So 8000 kg per meter cube. Into acceleration due to gravity is 9.8 meter per second square. All SI. And ultimately you will get in Newton per meter square pressure in Pascal, that I have got it 7840 Pascal or Newton per meter square. So one part is over. The pressure exerted by this enclosed gas is 7840 Pascal. Then what is in terms of bar? 1 bar is equal to 10 to the power 5 Pascal. So this many Pascal, so which implies 7840 Pascal is equal to 7840 by 10 to the power 5. And that I am getting the value of 0.0784 bar. So the enclosed gas in terms of bar, it is 0.0784 bar. I told you 1 bar is the standard pressure according to new convention. And according to that, the molar volume is 22.7 liter. Right? Now we are left with atmosphere. 1 atmosphere is equal to 1.01325 bar. So 0.0784 bar is equal to 0.0784 divided by 1.01325. So it is coming 0.07734 atmosphere. They are very close. Bar and atmosphere, they are very close, but they are not same. Bar is 0.078. This is 0.077. 0.0784. This is 0.0773. So if you take 3 significant digits, you will find there is a difference. Right? So with this, we proceed to the next, a very, very interesting aspect. It is called vapor density or relative density. Listen to me very carefully. Right? How many minutes gone? Only 26 minutes. Now, just like solids and liquids, they have got their relative densities. You call it their specific gravities. That is the density of that solid or liquid by density of water. Since the density of water is 1 gram per cc, so the specific gravity is merely the numerical value of density in CGS unit gram per cm3. Right? So specific gravity is same as relative density for liquids and solids. So the density, absolute density, is compared with water. But in gases, water is not taken as standard for comparison. It is the lightest hydrogen gas which is taken for comparison. That means how many times a particular gas is heavier than hydrogen gas. So that relative density for gases has a different name. It is called vapor density. Just like specific gravity is a unique name for solids and liquids, not for gases. Similarly, for gases, the specific name of relative density is vapor density, VD. It sounds little unconvincing, vapor density, but vapor density is nothing but relative density. The density of a gas or vapor divided by density of hydrogen. How many times the gas or vapor, just hold on, you might be thinking gas and vapor, what is the difference between the two? Don't worry, this is not a physical chemistry class. In physical chemistry class, you will know the subtle difference between a gas and a vapor. I'm not going to discuss that now. For now, you treat gas is same as vapor, right? And the measurements have to be done at the same temperature and pressure. Whatever is the temperature and pressure to calculate the density of a unknown gas or a gas of our study, same temperature and pressure have to be used for finding density of hydrogen gas. So this ratio is called the VD. And VD of a gas can have a very simplified definition because we can convert it to mass divided by volume. The density of a gas is nothing but the mass of the gas divided by volume of the gas. And similarly, density of hydrogen can be mass of hydrogen by volume of hydrogen. And if the volume of the gas and volume of hydrogen are made equal, then these two terms will cancel. If we make them equal. And in that case, the definition of Vd is now reduced to mass of certain volume of gas or vapor divided by mass of same volume of hydrogen, because we have kept the two volumes, the volume of the gas and volume of hydrogen same. And then Vd is nothing but the ratio between their masses. Mass of certain gas divided by mass of hydrogen, provided the volumes are same, therefore same volume of hydrogen. And the measurements are done under same temperature and pressure. So whenever you are asked to define what is Vd of a gas, you give this definition. Vd is nothing but the mass of any gas, a mass of certain volume of a gas divided by mass of same volume of hydrogen. Mass by mass, volume same. And temperature and pressure also have to be kept constant. In that case, Vd is a mass by mass ratio, right? Now let us prove by applying Avogadro's law. We have been, centering around our discussion on Avogadro's law. Avogadro's law was used in getting the ideal gas equation, PV is equal to nRT, also to use to find the density equation, D is equal to PM by RT. And now we are correlating the Vd of a gas or a vapor with its molecular mass. We will prove that Vd of any gas, vapor density, which is a relative density, is equal to molecular mass by 2. How to prove is very, very simple. Let us define Vd. Mass of certain volume, let's say VCC. That's certain, let's say VCC. Mass of VCC of the gas or vapor divided by mass of the same VCC of hydrogen gas. All measurements done under identical T and P constant every time. So applying Avogadro's law, if VCC of one gas, the unknown gas, contains N molecules, let's say capital N here, capital N molecules, the same VCC of hydrogen gas also will contain the same number of molecules, that means capital N. So if you divide by capital N in the numerator and denominator, you will find it is equal to mass of one molecule of the gas or vapor by mass of one molecule of hydrogen. Right? We have applied Avogadro's law here. Yes, equal volumes of gases contain equal number of molecules. And then we cancelled N by N, N by N. So we divided by N, so that becomes 1, 1. So dividing by N, we get mass of one molecule of gas divided by mass of one molecule of hydrogen. But we already know hydrogen is diatomic. So in the denominator, we can write 2 into mass of one atom of hydrogen because it is H2. So mass of one atom of hydrogen, right? If you take 2 outside, then this ratio is nothing but molecular mass. Mass of one molecule divided by mass of one hydrogen atom. That is the relative mass. That is called the molecular mass. Of course, nowadays we take carbon standard. We take mass of one molecule divided by 1 by 12 part of a carbon 12 isotope. That we say, but it is same, almost the same. So mass of one molecule by mass of one hydrogen atom is nothing but molecular mass of that particular gas. If you do not have a very good grasp over molecular mass, atomic mass, hold on. We will have the program, and I am sure many of you who have come from in a vernacular medium where you have learned, accepted science, chemistry in a very analytical perspective, you must be having some weakness in concepts. That will be made clear. Don't worry at all. So now we started from Vd, ended with molecular mass by 2. So which means molecular mass of any gas or vapor is equal to 2 into vapor density. is applicable only for the vapor phase. There are some liquids which are very volatile, which can be converted to their vapor, and their vapor densities can be measured, and we can get their molecular mass by multiplying with 2. So even if it is a liquid, we can vaporize a liquid and then find its vapor density, relative density, and by this method, mass by mass method. We will be doing that, mass by mass method. And once we get the VD, we know already derivation we have done. We multiply by 2, get the molecular mass, right? Now, VD is independent of temperature and pressure. Although the absolute densities are dependent on P and T, we knew that D or rho is equal to PM by RT. So it not only is dependent on the molecule itself, the molecular mass, but also dependent on P and T. But the vapor density, capital D, we write capital D for vapor density, is only related to molecular mass. No P, no T, they are not at all required for vapor density. Tell me why? Why vapor density is independent of temperature and pressure? Why? Number 1, because it is related to molecular mass. Molecular mass is a constant quantity for a given molecule. Therefore, VD has to be constant. 2. This is an indirect answer, the direct answer. Since it is a ratio, now see, this is a ratio. Here, this is a ratio. The density of the gas by density of hydrogen. Conditions are same. So if the conditions are changed for the gas, its density changes. Proportionately, the density of hydrogen also changes. If this increases, this also increases. And the ratio remains the constant. If this decreases at a certain temperature and pressure, proportionately the density of hydrogen also decreases. So the ratio remains always constant because it is related to molecular mass. So VD is not going to change at temperature. If the temperature is changed or pressure is changed, VD is a fixed quantity of a particular gas. Once you know that, you multiply by 2 to get its molecular mass. Let us now solve this problem. This one we have. Find out the VD of these gases. Very simple. A, molecular mass of SO2 is 32 plus 32, 64 by 2. VD is equal to molecular mass by 2. So vapor density of SO2 is 32. That means SO2 is 32 times heavier than hydrogen. So what about oxygen? Oxygen molecular mass is 16 plus 16, 32 by 2 is 16. So oxygen is 16 times heavier than hydrogen. Then C, argon. Argon is a monoatomic molecule. So its molecular mass is 40. Atomic mass is same as molecular mass by 2. So 20 is the vapor density of, because every time VD is equal to molecular mass by 2, so this gives 20 for argon, right? Now, is another question. A certain unknown elementary gas has a density equals to this much, right? Density equal to this much. Density is equal to 0.00125. Have you paused this video? Please pause this video and do up your own. Then tally with me. Paused? Right. Done. A certain unknown elementary gas has a density equals to 0.00125 gram per cm3 at STP. What are its vapor density and molecular mass? And the density of hydrogen is given. You have to remember the density of hydrogen gas at STP is, we did in the last video, 0.40000089 gram per cm3 or cc. So this you have to remember. In terms of gram per liter, it is 0.089. in terms of gram per cc or gram per milliliter, it is 0.4089. So we know vapor density is equal to density of an unknown gas by density of hydrogen. So if the density of unknown gas is given 0.00125 and the density of hydrogen, the same unit has to be maintained, gram per cc, this is also gram per cc. If this is given in gram per liter, you have to convert it to gram per cc. So that is coming, I have calculated, this is coming 14.0445, approximately equal to 14. So the molecular mass is 2 into vapor density. D means Vd. This is in short form of 2 into Vd, that is equal to 2 into 14 is 28. Can you guess which gas it is talking about? Can you identify the gas? If it is an elementary gas, not a compound gas. Elementary gas can not be any other thing than N2. 14 plus 14, 28, right? But if it is a compound gas, carbon monoxide also has the same molecular mass. 12 plus 16 is also 28, but this is an elementary gas, so it has to be nitrogen, right? So you have to remember this value. If it is not given also, this is the STP data, STP. In other temperature and pressure, you can find out by using D is equal to PM by RT, right? So let us take up 10. The Vd of an unknown gas is 14. Vd is given, that is capital D, is 14. What would be its density at STP? STP. Can you guess what is the gas or all possible gases that will be represented by that formula, that molecular mass? If Vd is 14, then you know Vd is equal to density of that gas by density of hydrogen. The conditions are same. If this is STP, this will be STP. And in the previous case, also STP, and this is also STP. So the two conditions should be same. So if Vd is equal to 14, and so dx is equal to, this is 0.000089, so 14 times greater than, that comes 0.001246. 0.001246 gram per cc, cm3, 1246. So first part is over. What would be the density at STP? Because density of hydrogen at STP is known. The density of the unknown gas will be 14 times greater. That is this much. Now can you guess the gas? If Vd is 14, then its molecular mass will be 2 into 14, that is 28. So it could be either N2 or carbon monoxide. So I was just telling you in the previous question. Right? Now we are at the last part of our program. Measurement of vapor density experimentally by Victor Meyer's method. Now for you need not bother so much about its working, its function, how you carry out this experiment. You don't bother. You just listen to me, understand, forget. Forget. Nowadays, this modern age, nobody uses this method to find out molecular mass. Once you get Vd, then you can get molecular mass. Nobody uses this. This is a very primitive method. But you must learn for your BCC program, you must learn everything. We will know what is the modern technique to find the molecular mass later when we study atomic mass and molecular mass. Each chapter will be very, very, deep-rooted discussion with its modern applications. Now, Victor Meyer's method is very primitive and it is only used for volatile liquids which can vaporize easily below 100 degree centigrade. It can vaporize without any decomposition. Let me read out the Vd of vapors of any volatile organic liquids such as acetone, ether, like that, or benzene, similar type, are determined by this method. The liquid first is vaporized in a special tube called Victor-Meyer's tube, which, being heavy, cannot itself go and will be collected. Rather, it displaces equal volume of air from the Victor-Meyer's tube, and the displaced air is collected over water. The pressure of dry air, temperature and volume of the displaced air are determined. Then we get the volume at STP by using combined gas equation. Convert the volume from the given conditions, from the experimental conditions to STP conditions. We have a handy tool, P1 V1 by T1 is equal to P2 V2 by T2. Then once you get the mass, then the mass of the same volume of hydrogen is determined. Because you know Vd is equal to mass of certain gas or vapor by mass of same volume of hydrogen at identical temperature and pressure. I'm sure you have not understood what I said. I'm sure. Don't worry. See what is going on. This is the setup for the Victor-Meyer's experiment. This is a glass tube. It was earlier made up of copper. Nowadays, it is a glass round bottom flask is used. A very, very strong glass round bottom flask is nowadays used, not copper jacket, as I have copy pasted. Nowadays also, this is just a fun for, in the undergraduate level. This is a fun experiment they do, but in reality, nobody uses now this method to determine the molecular mass or vapor density, right? Now there is a small, tiny bottle, very, very good looking bottle called the Hofmann's bottle, where you take the liquid, volatile liquid, say acetone or whatever, the unknown liquid, which will be vaporized very easily. The mass, supposing, is m in gram, right? So before you drop this is called the Victor-Meyer's tube. This is a bulging out portion this is made up of glass. This is a bulging out portion at the bottom, a narrow tube connected with a delivery tube, and this is a stopper, and this is connected to a pneumatic trough through a beehive cell, and a water jar, tube completely filled with water is inverted in the beginning. And this is water boiling, because the environmental, the vicinity, the surroundings should be 100 degrees centigrade. And the liquid will now be dropped. When the setup comes to equilibrium, that means, there were excess of air at room temperature. When you boil this liquid water outside, now there will be expansion of the air present in the Victor-Meyer's tube, and you find bubbles of air will be coming out. At that time, don't invert the gas jar. The tube filled with water, you don't do that. You first see that the gas bubbles have ceased to come out. So when you boil water outside and keep the entire setup like this and don't put it here, then you find bubbles will come out because it was previously at room temperature. Now the temperature will be slowly converted to, increased to 100 degree. So as long as equilibrium is not established, bubbles will be coming out. Once you find there is no bubbles, that means the system, the setup has acquired equilibrium, right? At that particular time, you invert the gas jar completely filled with water, and very carefully take this Hofmann bottle. It has got a very, very delicate stopper, very tight but very delicate, right? You measure the mass of the liquid whose Vd you are going to measure very accurately using a sophisticated electronic balance, right? Then what you do when system is at equilibrium at 100 degrees centigrade, outside, inside, everywhere, then you open this stopper. In a flask you have to drop this. loosening this stopper, opening this stopper, you drop. This is a 60 centimeter long tube. So while it will be dropped, during its journey, you will find this loosened stopper will be opened, and instantaneously the liquid will be vaporized, because this is a volatile liquid whose boiling point is less than 100 degrees Celsius. So instantly vaporization occurs here before this tube falls, settles down at the bottom where there is a cushion. There is some glass wool just to receive this very cozy, tiny, very sophisticated bottle, Hofmann's bottle, not to break down. It just lands very safe on the glass wool. So glass wool is used, and before it lands, the liquid inside is vaporized, and instantly it displaces equal volume of air, because this is a heavier. Usually the organic substances are having greater molecular mass than water, so they can't go because they're heavier, so they displace air. Air contains nitrogen and oxygen, right, and some little moisture, but mostly nitrogen and oxygen. So they are lighter, so the air is displaced and it is collected by the downward displacement of water. So while going through water, it will carry some extra water vapor. So whatever pressure we will measure, it is not the pressure of the dry air. It is the pressure of dry air plus the pressure of water vapor, what we call aqueous tension, right? Now you continue to wait till there is no increase in the volume of air collected. The air is collected. We are interested to know the volume of the vapor. Doesn't matter if you do not go to a place, you send another man of your volume, your bulk, then doesn't matter. The teller can take the measurements from him, from her. You are not required, because I wanted to know your dimension, the volume. So if the vapor could not go because it is heavy, it sent equal volume of air. So we wanted to measure the volume of the vapor, and we now measure the volume of the air. Same thing, right? So once we know the the volume of this vapor at the given conditions, we have to perform the leveling experiment, because to know the pressure, it is always recommended to equalize the levels. You carefully remove by putting your thumb so that there will be no escape of the gas or entry of air inside. So very carefully you remove this tube with air enclosed and put it in a tall jar containing water, like this, and try to make up and down by your hand. By trial and error method, you push down, push up, and then fix at such a position where the level of water inside the tube and outside the tube, they are same. So that is called leveling experiment. At that condition, the gas pressure is equal to 1 atmospheric pressure. So you can just take the barometer reading and say it is my gas pressure, and record the volume at that condition, not this volume, right? So what you did, you had first made the setup ready at 100 degrees Celsius. You have not put this tube filled with water. Then once it is in equilibrium, no bubbles are coming, then you invert the gas jar, the tube, the collecting tube, completely filled with water, and suddenly remove this cap, drop the Hofmann's bottle, loosen the stopper so that it will automatically be opened and vaporized, and immediately restore the cap. Sometimes I've seen students are so callous, so very careless, so that they open this stopper and drop, but they used to talk between themselves and they take some time to replace the cap. That situation, some of the vapors of this liquid escapes out, and whatever result that they get, that is far away from the molecular mass or the vapor density of the liquid that the examiner we give to the students. We know what liquid we are giving, and they land up with a very, very different result. So therefore, you have to be very careful to do it in a second. You just remove the button, the stopper, then drop the Hofmann's bottle, and then replace the stopper immediately before it vaporizes, right? So then this is simple. This is a setup. This is a setup, real setup that is used in the laboratory, where this is a stand. This is a pneumatic trough. It's not visible. There is a tube filled with water. There is a beehive cell where the delivery tube is inserted, and this is not visible. The inner part is a bulging out portion. The middle part is a narrow tube, and the upper part is also a bulged out portion. This is the stopper. A Hofmann bottle is somewhere lying on the glass wool, and displacement has occurred. Air has been collected here. It's not visible at all, don't worry. Procedure we have already discussed. Just a repetition. See how it is repeated. A known mass of the liquid taken in a Hofmann bottle is introduced into the Victor Meyer's tube, which is kept in equilibrium at 100 degrees Celsius. That is at the temperature of water vapor. Outside, the temperature is 100, means the inside, the air also experiences the same temperature. The liquid vaporizes instantly and displaces equal volume of air, which is collected by the downward displacement of water. Volume and pressure of moist gas, not gas, it is air, right? Moist air are measured after leveling experiment. The volume is recorded, and the pressure is nothing but the barometric pressure. Temperature is also recorded by using a thermometer, putting onto a water at that particular day, on that day, in water from the tap, you measure that day's temperature. The combined gas equation is used to convert the volume from the given conditions, from the experimental conditions, to STP conditions, because we know that the density of hydrogen gas at STP is 0.000089. So what is VD? I told you to remember the new definition: mass by mass. Mass of certain gas of certain volume divided by mass of hydrogen of same volume. So we have found out the volume of the air, which is equal to the volume of the vapor of that volatile liquid. So the same volume means that V of STP, whatever converted value. So the V of STP, that value, that is that many milliliter, supposing this is in milliliter, and 1 milliliter of hydrogen weighs this much, this is the density, into this, that will give you the mass of hydrogen, mass of same volume of hydrogen, and this M is the mass of the liquid, because you have vaporized it, no doubt, but the mass is not going to change. You have taken in the tiny Hofmann's bottle, but the mass is not going to change at all. So the mass, this mass is this mass of the liquid taken in the Hofmann's bottle, and this is the volume, STP volume, into 0.000089. Now let us solve a problem. Don't worry, how many minutes gone? It is 58. Don't worry at all. We are almost done. We are almost done. 2 grams of a certain unknown gas occupies 418 milliliter at this temperature and this millimeter of mercury pressure. Find the molecular mass of the gas. Aqueous tension at 27 degrees Celsius is 15 millimeter, right? So let us do it by VD method. This, you can do it by ZMV method, right? You can do it by ZMV method, but let us do it. It is not written that it is found unknown gas occupies. So it is better to do it by GMV method, not by which method? Now let me change the question. 2 grams of a certain unknown gas. No, we cannot. Okay, let us do it supposing this is not Victor Meyer's. This is simply, let us apply the VD concept, right? What is VD? VD of this gas is the mass of certain volume. That certain volume is STP volume. And mass of same volume of hydrogen. Same condition, T and P same, right? So the volume was this at these conditions. Volume is this at these conditions. Now let us, no, this is a defective question. I am so sorry about it. It should have been changed. 2 gram of a certain, volatile liquid on Victor Meyer's experiment displaced this many milliliters of moist air at this temperature and pressure. So let me change this question. Undoubtedly, I will change this question. And when you get the printout, I mean this lecture note, you will get a revised one. 2 gram of a volatile liquid in Victor Meyer's experiment displaced, you write it, you are writing now, I am sure you are writing, displaced this milliliter of moist air, because it is collected over water, 480 milliliter of moist air at this temperature and pressure. Find out the molecular mass, find out the VD, and then obviously molecular mass. So 2 gram was the mass of the liquid which was vaporized in the Victor Meyer's tube. Now the vapor displaced this many milliliter of air, moist air, and the aqueous tension is 15 millimeter. So you have to subtract from 755 millimeter is the total pressure of that moist, moist air, which was found out from the barometer by leveling experiment. So the pressure of the dry air is equal to 755 minus 15 millimeter. So let us convert. P1 V1 by T1 is equal to P2 V2 by T2. So this P1 is 755 minus 15, because we need the dry air. The air is coming via water, so it is carrying some water vapor whose pressure is this much. We don't need that. We need, because air is displaced, but air is carrying some additional thing. We have to remove that. So, but the volume is always same, because if that is the volume is enjoyed by water vapor, same volume is enjoyed by air. So volume is remaining same, whatever we have recorded, right? But the pressure changes. So this is the pressure of the dry air, and V1 is 418, temperature is 273 plus 27, that is 300, is equal to P2, the standard pressure is 760 into volume. We have to find out T2 is 273, and I have already calculated V2 is coming 370.37 ml. This is the STP volume. The volume was 418 in the given conditions at a higher temperature and at a lower pressure. 755 minus 15 is at a lower pressure than standard. So at standard conditions, we converted the volume is this 370.37 milliliter. Then it's very simple. Let us do it by VD method. VD is nothing but, already have written, mass of certain volume of the gas or vapor. Because the mass is 2 gram, it has been converted to, the volatile liquid has been converted to vapor. So the mass is 2 gram. So in the numerator there will be 2. In the denominator, the same volume of hydrogen, because 1 milliliter has a mass of 0.4089, because that is the density, into this many milliliters at STP, 370.37. So mass by mass, mass of the mass of the vapor of the volatile liquid, 2 gram is given, and the mass of the same volume of hydrogen at STP. This mass will never change whether it is STP or non-STP. This mass will be same, but the volume has to be found out in STP condition. It was given in a different condition. We found out in STP condition, because we know the density of hydrogen at STP is this. If we, supposing you are very intelligent, you will say, sir, we will keep it as 418 and we change the pressure as 755 minus 15, okay, but we will apply the principle, PV is equal to nRT, and we will find what is the mass at that condition and temperature. So we will put there, okay, no problem. Same answer you will be getting, because you are using the density at this condition, STP condition, so STP volume. If you are using a non-STP volume and find that density in the non-STP condition, so the mass will be same. How mass will be different? So if you are using 418 milliliter and use PM by RT, PM by RT. Take the pressure 755 minus 15, PM by RT, and find the density at that non-standard condition. You will find the mass will be same. So this is, I'm trying to give you the conceptual aspect so that you can play with these chemical arithmetic. The subject is chemical arithmetic. So once you learn the logic, LOC is under control, and this logic that we are building up now is under control, then you will play with chemical arithmetic, right? So this is coming 60.67. So therefore molecular mass is 2 times Vd. Molecular mass is 2 times, so it is 121.34 is the molecular mass. You could have bypassed Vd method. You would have used the gram molar volume method. Means if 370.37 milliliter at STP weighs this many gram, 2 grams, then 22,400 milliliter will weigh how much? So we will be doing that. GMV method will be doing that in our molecular mass program. But since it is a Victor-Meyer's method, it is definitely looking good if we first find out Vd and then multiply by 2. You can as well. I'm just supposing I will bypass. I don't know what is Victor-Meyer. I will know that the STP volume is this much. Is 300, how much? 70.37. That means the vapor of the volatile liquid will occupy. In the Victor-Meyer's tube, it has displaced same volume of air. Doesn't matter, same thing. It occupies this many milliliter STP. We know the STP volume. Then we apply. If 370.37 ml at STP weighs 2 gram, then what will happen? 22,400 ml, which is a gram molar volume. Whatever answer we will get, that is bound to be the gram molecular mass. So it is 2 by 370.37 into 22,400, and the answer, I'm sorry, I don't have, I can have a, ready-made, to show you here what will be the result and how different it is. Just let us see. 2 into 22,400, 2 into 22,400 equal to how much? This, and divided by 370.37 divided by 370 0.37 equal to this is in gram, this yes, this is the same answer that we got 121 point something. Here we are getting little different, since the methods are different, 120.9 something we got, isn't it? Directly molecular mass 96. So in the earlier VD method we got 121.34, but because this has been, this is an experimental value. If you divide this 22,400 2 divided by 22,400, it will not be exactly 0.00089. It will be little different, maybe 889. So since you are using a round figure, I mean a rounded off figure, therefore the two values will be slightly different, because this doesn't match. The density 0.00089 doesn't match with this. So about 2 gram of hydrogen occupies this. 22,400 milliliter has a mass equal to 2 grams. So 1 milliliter. So you will never find it is equal to 0.00 exactly 89. It will be something different. Therefore, the difference in the answer doesn't matter. In the examination, you can adopt any method. This is called the GMV method, which we will be doing again in our molecular mass program. So we can do that. But since we learned Victor Mayer's method, so therefore we used it, right? How many minutes gone? 1 hour gone. Same. That means it is this part is a 4-hour program. 1 hour 10 minutes, 1 hour 20 minutes, 1 hour 15 minutes. So because I am always sharing my experience with you, and not stereotyped type of presentation lectures. Therefore, you have to bear with me. The time compromise has to be done. Now, you understood, I think you understood the Victor Mayer's method to find the VD of a volatile, the vapor of a volatile liquid. So once you know VD into 2, that will be its molecular mass. So what is VD? Mass of certain volume of the gas or vapor. That means the mass of the volatile liquid which has been vaporized. Mass will never change, and this is mass of the same volume of hydrogen. Since the density of hydrogen you know at STP, you have to convert the volume at the given conditions to STP condition by applying the combined gas equation. And you know why we subtracted the aqueous tension from the pressure of the moist gas. Whatever we measure after leveling experiment, that is the pressure of the moist gas, because it is all collected over water. So we have done a lot of things, and last is how 22.4 liters can also be derived from Avogadro's law. That is another application. We already know molecular mass is 2 into VD. So that is 2 into, let's say the volume is 1 liter. The VD definition is mass of certain volume. Let that certain is 1 liter. Mass of 1 liter of the gas or vapor, and let's say the condition is STP or NTP. So mass of 1 liter of the gas or vapor at NTP divided by mass of 1 liter of hydrogen gas at NTP. Here we have stipulated the conditions and also the volume. So the the mass of 1 liter of NTP, of 1 liter of hydrogen at NTP is this much. Experimental determination of density of hydrogen is 0.000089 for cc. So per liter it is 0.089 gram per liter. So the numerator is written as such, but the denominator has changed to 0.089 gram per liter, because that is the mass of 1 liter of hydrogen at STP. Yes. Then if you divide 2 divided by 0.089, it is coming 22.4. It's not exactly 22.4. We have rounded off to 20. All these, approximations will lead you to different results. If you are doing by this method, that method, if you divide, just for fun sake, let us divide. Okay? Let us divide here to see what's the difference. Clear? 2 divided by 22 point, I'm sorry. 2 2 divided by 0.089. It is coming 22.47. We are not taking 7 in the second place of decimal. See what, but while calculating by GMB method, we are taking 22.47. And while we calculating VD method, you are taking density as 0.089. So they are not matching. Therefore, don't be surprised if you get a slightly different answer, okay? So here we are approximating to 22.4. So 22.4 into mass of 1 liter of the gas or vapor means mass of 22.4 liters. You can multiply 22.4 with 1 and you can say this is nothing but equal to mass of 22.4 liters of the vapor at STP. So we started from gram molecular mass. So gram molecular mass is nothing but the mass of 22.4 liters of the gas or vapor at STP. That is why gram molar volume is 22.4 liters at STP. But here the old convention 1 atmosphere, not 1 bar. If you lower the pressure, the bar is less than atmosphere. So this volume will be more, 22.7. Thus we come to the end of this chapter. I am utterly happy that even if it is 3 hours or maybe 4 hours for the 3 lectures, gas laws, some important gas laws which are applicable for BCC and their applications. And you have a lot of maybe 15 numericals assignment that you do. And until the next time, next program will be atomic mass and molecular mass. Together we will take. Let's see if it is in 1 class or 2 classes. Bye-bye.